Robert Ferringo with Doc Sports here with our Hump Day hero, Nolan Patrick of Strike Point Sports. Before we get to Nolan, I want to take this time to mention that this is Doc Sports' 50-year anniversary. That's right. We have been around since 1971. And to help us celebrate, we are offering you $60 free to use towards any handicapper in any sport that you like. Opening day for baseball coming up on Thursday. Keep that in mind. NBA, hockey, soccer, MMA, whatever you need, we got you covered. Now, you might be asking yourself, if it's your 50-year anniversary, why are you giving us $60 free? I will let you determine that. Either we're just really, really generous, or we weren't smart enough to think of the $50 thing. Either way, all right, Nolan Patrick, what is up, my man? How we doing? Since we talked last, you've been on a tear, 5-1 since our last video. What's going on, man?
You know, like we talked about in the last video, when we have losing streaks, we go back to the drawing board, we get more razor focused, and that's what it was. And things have been going well for us at Strike Point Sports. Coming off a big 7-unit winner last night with the Pelicans. Tell them to keep the points. We don't need them.
That's right. And that's actually a perfect segue into our first game that we're going to talk about for Wednesday is Boston and Dallas. Boston is a team that you've obviously been tracking. They've been doing really well with. Okay, the one loss in that 5-1 run was a small play on Oklahoma City over Boston over the weekend. But then, as you mentioned, you came right back over the top. Hit a 7-unit winner easily, I might add, on Monday night with New Orleans beating Boston outright at home. You look at these two teams. We've talked about them several times. This is not where they expected to be at this point in the season, but now this is a really important game for both teams. What are you looking at with the Celtics?
Yeah, that one stung a little bit. That loss stung a little bit because Oklahoma City was up in the fourth quarter, getting those points, and then I got outscored 35-14 to lose that game pretty big. So that one stung. We felt like we were on the right side. With the Celtics, it's been the same thing all year. You know, they're dealing with an injury bug. They're dealing with guys in and out of the lineup. Jaylen Brown didn't play on Monday against the Pelicans with a hip contusion, and now he's questionable against the Mavs. So you just don't really know what to expect of Boston. And this is a spot where the Mavs, you know, are a good team. They're a strong team. They have guys that create mismatches all over the floor. But Dallas is in a current stretch of 7 of 8 games on the road. They had 3, then they came home to play Indiana, and now they're in the middle of a 5-game road trip. So this is a really interesting game. We think if Jaylen Brown plays, the Celtics are a small home favorite. We think if he doesn't play, the Mavs are a road favorite. But regardless, this might surprise you. We like Boston over Dallas in that game.
Interesting. Dallas won the first meeting between these two teams, but that actually snapped a streak where the Celtics had been 8-1 against the spread in their last 9 games against the Mavericks. All right, the second game that we're going to dive into is Milwaukee is heading out to Los Angeles to play the Lakers. Now, obviously, this game doesn't have the same cachet that it would be if LeBron James wasn't hurt and was playing. Now, Nolan, we've talked about this a lot in our handicapping days, that a team loses a superstar player like LeBron James to injury. And in the short term, there is usually a bump. Everybody else raises their level of play. The odds makers and the public overreact on the spreads to that injury. And you can usually find some value with some teams. But do you see that happening with the Lakers? They have won 2 straight, but it was against Cleveland and Orlando, the 2 worst teams in the NBA. Or are they just completely lost without LeBron James? And should we just be fading this team into eternity, or at least until King James return?
Right. Yeah. The Lakers stink. I mean, they really do. Unfortunately, without those 2 guys, they don't have really any scoring punch. They are averaging 99 points a game over their last 6 games. That's not going to get the job done in the NBA. You know, the Bucks are not playing well either. They've lost 3 straight, but one of those games was against the Knicks. No one played for the Bucks. No one. I think they lost 102-92. You know, so they haven't looked great.
You were the second leading scorer in that game, weren't you?
I was, yes.
I thought
Thank God.
No, 12 points and 8 assists. Yeah.
Funny story. Antetokounmpo was the leading scorer in that basketball game and not the one that you expect. So that's really interesting. But Milwaukee got waxed last night against the Clippers. I mean, the Clippers just absolutely smacked them. I've got some numbers here for you. The Bucks starters, Giannis was minus 31. Middleton was minus 28. DiVincenzo was minus 22. Lopez minus 14, and Holiday minus 12. We don't see that happening again. The Bucks aren't going to be happy with that performance. They're going to be a big favorite over the Lakers, a team that is averaging 99 points a game over their last 6, and we see the Bucks winning this one pretty handily as a double-digit favorite.
I agree with you, and that was going to be my next question, actually. Where do you see this line coming in? Do you think it hits double digits, or do you think it settles around 8.5, 9.5?
I think it's going to be a double.
To your point, Milwaukee hasn't been playing well. The game is on the road. Where do you see that number coming in?
I think you're going to see – I think it opens at about 10.5, and I think it actually gets bet up. So I think by the time that game tips, you're going to be looking at 11, 11.5, and I like the Bucks to cover that. I really do. I see it almost being a 116-99 game.
I agree with you 100% on that one. But I got to ask you, could you make an argument that this could be good? Playing without LeBron James for this long, sustained stretch, could this actually be good for the Lakers? Could this benefit them in the playoffs, that these guys have kind of found themselves, found their rhythm, however things go, whether they lose a lot of games, if they're able to go 500, that they will be better off and be a better team when LeBron James comes back? And by extension, is there actually maybe a little bit of value betting them in the futures markets right now to win the championship?
I think there is. I actually just read an article the other day on this exact topic. And really, for a guy like Kyle Kuzma, if he can step up and be a leader for this Lakers team when they don't have Anthony Davis and they don't have LeBron James, and he can really build his confidence, that's going to go a long way in the playoffs. You may see stretches, 5-6 minute stretches in games where Kuzma takes over for the Lakers. And when you look at the Nets and every single guy that's on the Nets, the Lakers are going to need more guys to help the big two there. And I think you're going to see I think there is value, long-term value on the Lakers when they get to the playoffs if LeBron and Anthony Davis are healthy. I like it. I think you're right, and I think there's value on the Lakers with those two guys healthy in the finals.
All right, the last game I want to talk about is Chicago at Phoenix. Two really interesting teams right now. All right, Phoenix, very quietly, is definitely one of the best teams in the NBA, and I don't feel like they're getting their due respect. All that momentum that they built up by going undefeated in the bubble absolutely is carried over into this season. Then we have Chicago. Real interesting case with Chicago. Young, exciting team that can score, put up points on anybody. Then they made probably the biggest trade move at the trade deadline, which not a lot of people saw coming, getting Nick Vucevic. Okay. However, since they made that big deal, they have been blown out twice. They have now lost 4 straight games straight up and against the spread. They're 1-6 in their last 7 games. I mean, Nolan, what do we make of the Bulls right now? Should we be betting against kind of the public attention and action that they're getting after their big trade deadline deal? Or is this a team that we kind of want to buy low with, and could this be a spot for them?
Not yet. Not yet. I do not believe you want to jump on the Bulls bandwagon just yet. They made more moves than just Vucevic, and you're seeing it was almost like a roster overhaul, so to speak, because you brought in such a big name and some players that are going to jump in and play big minutes for Chicago. So there's a little bit of turnover there. Billy Donovan's got his work cut out for him, and I would not buy the Bulls yet. If they can get into the playoffs, maybe, but they've got a lot of work to get to the playoffs too. This is just a Bulls team that's struggling. They can't find an identity right now. And the biggest thing isn't the guys they brought in. A lot of people don't know about Zach LaVine's ankle injury. He re-aggravated his ankle injury. He needs to take some days off. He seems like a guy that's going to gut games out, and he's going to play, but he shouldn't. Zach LaVine in his last 2 games scored less than 20 points. And he hadn't gone consecutive games with less than 20 points since December 28th and December 30th of 2019. That's a long time. And now their best player is not right. He needs to sit. I don't know if he's going to sit. And now they're playing a really tough Phoenix team. I think Phoenix rolls in this game.
Okay, so anyone that's been watching this video over the last few weeks should have been picking up on a trend, a theme of these videos, if you will. And that's that you usually nail all 3 of the games that we talk about. I bet you're 8-1 in your picks on these games, or 7-2 at least over the last 3 weeks. But then you miss your free pick. So we're going to switch that around. Are we at Costanza time yet for you with your free pick where you start going against it? Or like what do you got? What do you got for your free pick? And is this the one that's going to finally snap the trend?
I know. I guess I just don't get it. If you look back to last week, did I or did I not nail that Hawks game when I said they were not going to beat the Sacramento Kings? No, you know what? I was thinking about that, and I was going through all the lines, and no, I'm doing this. I'm going to give you two, and it's the two games that we talked about. I'm not going off the script. The Bucks they're gonna run roughshod over the Lakers. It's gonna be a big line. They're gonna win, and I like the Phoenix Suns to beat the Bulls and cover that line. I think you're looking. It all depends on Zach LaVine, obviously, but I think the Suns win their game by double figures as well. So I think you got two big favorites that are gonna win both games by double figures: the Suns and the Bucks.
Folks, he's Nolan Patrick, Strike Point Sports. They are advertising a 7-unit NBA play on Wednesday. Could it be one of the games that we discussed? Could it be one of the games that he just talked about? You will have to sign up to see. Utilize the free $60 and get on board. They nailed their 7-unit play on Monday. They're starting to go on a little heater here, and you absolutely do not want to miss out. I'm Robert Faringo. He is Nolan Patrick of Strike Point Sports. Be sure to check us out at www.docsports.com. See you next week. Carpe diem. Good luck.